The BBC may not be in safe hands under its current chairman, according to the most senior MP on the Culture Select Committee, Dame Caroline Dinenage.
Samir Shah gave evidence to MPs yesterday and he apologised for what he described as the mistakes which led to the resignation of the Director General and Head of News. Here's our media and arts correspondent, David Sillito, with the details.
BBC News at 6 o'clock. Good evening.
It has been a rocky few weeks for the BBC, especially BBC News, with the resignation of the Director General and Head of News in the aftermath of a memo written by an editorial advisor outlining what he felt were editorial failings on stories of race, trans issues, Israel, and most notably an edit of a speech by Donald Trump on Panorama that the BBC now admits was a mistake. And when he met MPs, the BBC's chairman, Samir Shah, began with an apology.
I'd like to take this opportunity, first of all, to apologise to all the people who believe in the BBC and care for it and wish it to survive and thrive.
That mistake was also the catalyst for the resignation of the BBC's Director General, Tim Davie, which raised another question.
With him going, do you think about your position?
My job now is to steady the ship and put it on an even keel. I'm not somebody who walks away from a problem. I think my job is now to fix it, and that's what I'm doing.
The session was also a chance to question the independent editorial advisor whose memo triggered all of this. The BBC, he said, was not institutionally biased, but there were issues.
The public expect the BBC to be honest, accurate, impartial, fair. It is most of the times. It needs to do a better job when it's caught out not being so.
With both the Director General and the Head of News resigning as a direct consequence of the fallout from these events, there were many questions about what was going on behind the scenes. Did this suggest something wider and deeper at the BBC? One of those questions was about alleged political influence on the BBC, directed at a member of the board who used to be a communications director for the Conservative government. Was this, in effect, a boardroom coup?
It's up there as one of the most ridiculous charges. People had to find some angle. It's complete nonsense.
But the heart of it all was that edit of the Donald Trump speech. Questions were first raised about it in January.
Why no action was taken despite the fact that there was a clear evidence of a breach of editorial guidelines?
As I said, in the January meeting, that report came out. I then invited the news division to give me a formal response to it. That response took place in May, and we discussed it then, and there was a different set of opinions around it.
But he did go on to say more could have been done.
But it is a matter which we could have pursued harder, is what I would say, and we should have done.
So, an apology and an admission that more could have been done after a mistake that has not only seen the departure of its two most senior leaders, but also brought a threat of a multi-billion-dollar legal action from Donald Trump. David Sillito, BBC News.
Well, our entertainment correspondent Lizo Mazimba joins us live now. Morning, Lizo. So, what is your assessment of how the BBC has come out of this?
Well, the BBC is probably quite thankful that the questioning wasn't as tough or as aggressive as it might have been, and that the focus was as much on the future as it was on what went wrong. But when it comes to that future, the chair of that parliamentary committee has indicated that she isn't yet satisfied. Speaking to the BBC's World Tonight, Dame Caroline Dinenage said she was concerned about a lack of grip at the heart of BBC governance. And when she was asked specifically about BBC Chair Samir Shah's position, this is what she had to say.
The BBC can't be left without a DG and without a chair. Someone needs to be there to kind of lead the march to replace the leadership. But equally, I don't think as a committee we were wildly enthused that the board is in safe hands.
She was also asked about the assurances that Samir Shah gave to the committee, and she responded saying he didn't really have direct answers on the questions of how to get the BBC to act quicker, act more decisively. we were really looking for hard evidence that the BBC board are going to grip this. I'm not entirely convinced that they can and they will. Now, the BBC said at the hearing that all the issues raised in former independent editorial advisor Michael Prescott's memo were being looked at again, and ways of strengthening the committee that oversees editorial issues were also being urgently examined. But whether that's all going to be enough for the committee and for the public remains to be seen.
Lizo, thanks very much.